Welcome to episode 6 of the Anchor Group podcast. And on this episode, we go through SEO, how to get more leads via organic traffic to your website. And I also reveal how much I have spent on our website on SEO over the last 6 years, and it'll probably surprise you. Michael, wearing a different shirt than you were earlier today.
That's right. Changing on the fly. That's right.
So for our first topic today, what do we got?
So today we're going to be talking about overcoming common e-commerce challenges. And I know, Caleb, when we're talking with clients and folks every day, there are a couple of things that regularly come up in conversation as pain points or things that people are struggling with. So the two things that we're going to talk about today is traffic to a website, which, Caleb, I know you have quite a bit of experience with, speaking about, organic traffic and SEO. So we'll get into a little bit of that. Then also we'll talk about converting customers. So once you actually get customers to your website, what are some ways that we can increase the conversion rate of a website? So that's what we're going to talk about today. How does that sound?
Works for me. Good topics.
Right
I like them. They're more thought leadership type of topics and not in the technical details, so that they apply to really any e-commerce solution out there, these same topics.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Whether somebody's listening to this who is running a mom and pop brick and mortar store with one location and wants to increase the amount of traffic they have going to their website, or maybe somebody's running a very large business doing millions and millions of dollars a year. There's always ways that people from whatever size they are can increase traffic and increase conversion rates. So these are very common to really anybody who's in the e-commerce game. So let's start here, right? I was on a call with somebody the other day, and they kept on saying, I don't get enough organic traffic to my website. So Caleb, can you talk to us a little bit about the different kinds of traffic, whether it's organic, paid, and whatever? Can you talk to us about the different kinds of traffic that can go to a website and maybe some of the differences between that for maybe some of our newer listeners out there who might be just getting their feet wet in e-commerce?
Yeah, I'll take a step back and just say what it is generally, what are the different strategies that you can dip your toes into, and then I'll go a little bit into the technical areas of each one of those. So there's really two main types of traffic sources. There's organic or referral-based traffic. And ads are a form of referral-based traffic. And then organic is going to be that direct search into Google. They find your listing, that after Google crawled your page, they was able to find that listing, and then your organic listing. So nobody is linking to your website, and that's how they got to you in that circumstance. And then within the referral realm, there's a number of ways they could get to your website, the referral from a different website to your own. One of them being ads. When you're tracking your ads and their click-through rates, you're able to track it via that referral source equals Google, and that's a good way to track it via Google Analytics. Then there's also other forms like social, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, depending on where you are in that realm. Different posts that maybe you link to your website. There's referral links from there, so you can see, hey, where did this lead or where did this purchase come from? And just to trace it all the way through the checkout experience. And then you can run analytics on what is your average cost per click, but what is your average order value and the cost to acquire that customer through that revenue or that referral area. That is something that I do ourselves. Our strategy is going to be different than a lot of e-commerce merchants because we're a services-based business helping people implement NetSuite, implement BigCommerce, implement SuiteCommerce. And because of that, our strategy is different. But I can tell you a little bit about our strategy, and people can, even in the product space, can pick a little bit of the things they like. And then I can talk about some of the ideas I have for other clients who are in the product space.
Caleb, before you hop into Anchor Group strategy and your expertise there, let's dig in for a minute. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with what you mentioned, organic and referral. So I think out there today, there's a lot of conversation about, free traffic or paid traffic. And so with what you just referenced about organic versus referral, where is an e-commerce business going to have to pay for the traffic, whether it's referral or organic? Kind of speak to those 2 points.
Well, first of all traffic, even organic traffic, is paid, but the investment is in a different manner. When you're talking about organic traffic, that's usually what people think of as free traffic, but the amount of effort and the amount of consistent updates to be able to maintain rankings, to get them ranking high in the first place, is a lot of money because it's your employees' time. There's some other strategies to enable that. You have to sometimes pay for backlinks and internal backlinks and paying developers to rank high and adjust with the Google algorithms and how they're working. So I do want to first state that no traffic is free traffic because all of it requires at a minimum your time, and your time is expensive. So, but usually when people think about it, they are talking about the organic traffic. But as I go into how we do our strategy, we do a lot of organic, and I think it's a wonderful strategy for many reasons. But note that it's cost much more money than what people would probably guess coming into this call. I'll reveal about how much I think we've invested into SEO on this particular podcast, and I bet it'll surprise a lot of people and kind of give them sticker shock on how much investment it took to get to top of Google.
We'll save that for the end.
Yeah.
A little cliffhanger for you all listening.
Yeah. But that at least gives you like what people mean by free traffic.
Yeah, and Caleb, I like how you said that because that paints a realistic picture for anybody listening to this podcast right now. Because, there are a lot of things if you're looking on LinkedIn, or even if you're just Google searching how to increase the traffic to your website. I feel like a lot of the blog posts, a lot of the articles do segment it between free traffic and paid traffic in a lot of ways. So I like how you set a realistic expectation there that, time is money, and there's a lot of effort that goes into even cultivating organic traffic to a website. And that takes a substantial amount of time, which I know you'll talk about based on your experience with the Anchor Group website. But there is a value and a cost there with that. But referral-based, let's talk about that for a second. So if I'm understanding you correctly, then referral-based traffic, right, whether it's links or whatever, that also costs money. Does that cost, in a sense, does that cost more money, or is that just Google Ads? What do you mean when you talk about that referral-based traffic?
Referral-based traffic, not all referral-based traffic is going to be paid traffic, not ad traffic. Some of it will be. The ones that are specifically going to be referral traffic from ads. So Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, and you can track that way. But let's say that this content that you and I are making right now, we get leads from this content. And because this is organic content, but it's taking both of our salaries to make this, plus the producer on the call that you can't even see right now, and paying him, and then all the work to get it published. So even though this is organic content, this is going to be published on YouTube and Spotify. And whenever we get a referral link, we pass it on to our lead form, and we're able to track where it's sourced from. So this would be referral traffic that was, you could call it referral, but it's also a free referral in that case because it's free to post on YouTube and Spotify and to all the different podcast channels. But then there's the paid ads, which is like, in order to be listed here in this position, I'm paying money, and there's that added cost.
And one thing I will note is that, as you pointed out, when a company sets up different funnels for leads, right? And for traffic, in a sense, whether that's organic or referral based, it is important. I know we have found success just understanding where that traffic's coming from, right? What lead source is that traffic coming from? If it's a podcast, if it's a Google ad, if it's truly organic search through Google, through a ranking keyword. And that's one thing, if you're listening to this and you don't have a good pulse on that right now for your business, that would be one suggestion I have for you, is getting a pulse on that for your business. Literally taking a sheet of paper or a whiteboard and just writing out all the different ways that a potential customer can discover your company, can discover your content, and really just understanding where the highest valued customers come from and maybe where the lowest valued customers come from, and understanding the investment it takes you and your team, time, energy, and resources in order to be managing those funnels, whether it's that organic traffic, whether you're doing podcasts or you're doing YouTube videos or whatnot. Maybe you have an influencer, social media influencer involved that in your business. Just do your best to understand that, because it pays dividends to understand how your money is working for you. So Caleb, as we kind of get into this more, let's talk specifically about your experience creating and managing the Anchor Group website. And I know you know a lot about SEO and that sort of thing that would kind of go more in the realm of organic traffic. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, let me give you a history of it. because I forget how many years, 7 years in business roughly, and at the time I was working, before I was at Ant Group, I was a design engineer and I worked in a manufacturing facility, but I really had a lot of interest on the sales and the marketing side. So when I started here, I had to go learn all of this. And a lot of times I would just spend a ton of time on YouTube walking on the treadmill. I know you're thinking you don't look like you walk on the treadmill, but that was 6 years ago. But I did spend most of my time just absorbing all of this information. And this podcast right here is exactly the type of content that I would absorb and learn from other people in their different industries and different thought leadership on the different strategies. I didn't know what many of these words meant back then. So then what I would take is I would just test and experiment, and I just wouldn't get analysis paralysis. I would just go do it and not get stuck. What if I make the wrong decision on how to make this content? Because I did make wrong decisions, but I learned from them, and it was better to just do it than to not do it. So what I did is, one of the first steps I did was I realized the importance of keyword research. The number one step is to do proper keyword research. There's a number of tools out there, Ahrefs, SEMrush, Mozilla. Those are a couple of the ones. And then Google Search Console is a free version, but it's not going to give you that intensive data you need if you're really going to go heavy into organic and SEO. Google Search Console will become useful still for some technical analysis on what the Google crawler is actually crawling on your website, so you can fix technical SEO issues. But really, those other three software solutions are going to be the best for keyword research. I ended up choosing Ahrefs, but honestly, they're all good. So just pick one, get familiar with the user interface. Then from there, you can do keyword research. In our instance, at the time, we were only doing NetSuite consulting and development and Suite Commerce as well. And now we do BigCommerce. And, Michael, you and I have gone through this exercise of keyword research. Now we rank high for a lot of BigCommerce keywords because we just did the same process that I did for the NetSuite and just rinse and repeat it. And I'm giving everybody the secret sauce. So it just takes work. So people don't put in the work. So I'm not really worried about sharing the secret sauce because it's like, it doesn't matter. People don't put in the work. And I'm just competing with people who are not as motivated as me. So that's why I don't really care.
And
but
that's
what I do, do you have a question?
Well, that's one thing that I want to reiterate, you really do need to put in the work. And I know many people out there and many, self-proclaimed gurus on YouTube and whatnot will have videos about quick wins, right? 3 months to $1 million, 6 months to $1 million, whatever. And that's not usually how it works as when you're going with the format that you're about to describe, kind of the SEO ranking high in Google sort of thing. Now, there are certain ways you can get quick wins, but that's not long lasting. So if you want to establish a long-term business that's going to be here, for longer than just, couple months, I think, the strategy you're about to describe, Caleb, is very important and proven.
Yeah, it works. And there's different services business. We're global, and there are businesses that are more local, and local SEO is a different strategy. Your overall strategy is going to be really different. And I would say most products business are going to have similar strategies to, so a lot of our clients benefit from these same strategies that I'm explaining. But on the keyword research, what you've got is you can start building your lists of keywords you think people search. And then the keyword research tools propose other suggested options or parent topics. They tell you the volume of searches every month and then how difficult it is to rank. And then you just go through the process, analyze it, and then those become tracked keywords too, those are valuable ones. So we look for things that have intent behind them. What is the intent of the person? So if I'm working on a keyword, let's say I'm working on BigCommerce development services. I'm looking at the keyword and thinking, is that keyword that those people are searching, is the intent behind it what I'm wanting someone to take action to purchase? And in that case, it's really clear. Same with the word NetSuite consultant. But what I spend less effort on is things like NetSuite training, because there's not really revenue in that. And it's not a sustainable model to focus on those higher level. They can help and influence decision makers, and same with product names. But they're not the best words to always focus on. What you want to look at is high volume keywords that have good intent and are easier to rank for in comparison. If I were to go after the word NetSuite, which is, I believe it's like a keyword difficulty of like 80, right? Really hard, just standalone by itself, but it has the most volume because people search that when they're just trying to go to the login page. Obviously, there's tons of volume as a result of that. And it doesn't make sense to put that. You may think that, yes, these are really valuable words, I want to go after them, but you will never get quick wins going after some of those big keywords. Those aren't quick wins. And I think that there is a quick win strategy for SEO too. And about 6 years ago, what I decided to do when I was first testing it, I was looking at a keyword difficulty between 0 and 100, and I was targeting the ones between like 0 and 20, and ideally in like that first 10. And that means that they're easy to rank for. And I was also looking for, all right, what is the volume that is reasonable for me? In my use case, a search volume for a keyword between 100 and 500 was a fair range. In different product space, you can get things that are much higher. And I focused on ones that were like 300-ish. And I found NetSuite training or free NetSuite training, something like that. And this is when I was first trying out this strategy to see if it was effective or not. And so what I did is I was going through a lot of my own training too, and I would just film content, and then I would publish it. And then I built a landing page with videos, with different content and keywords related to NetSuite training and a topic area. And I used this parent topic of NetSuite training, and I looked at subtopics that said, NetSuite tutorial safe searches, NetSuite tutorial on advanced PDF templates. And I created these subtopics and made sure that I had a text description as well as the video. And I inserted what's called schema, so Google crawlers know what is the content of the video. And I made sure that I had titles, and the titles were based on my keyword research. If someone searches NetSuite tutorial save search, and there's 100 people searching those, and there's only 50 people that search NetSuite training save search, well, then I don't use that in my header. I don't use that lower volume. I use the one that is higher volume. So doing this intensive keyword research to build a single higher volume page, I did this. It probably took me 2-3 days of effort to build this one page. But to this day, it still ranks top of Google. And I don't actually put any SEO effort into it anymore. And that's why it's dropped from like the number 1 slot to number 4 slot. And it took about 4 to probably like 8 weeks for it to rank number 1, number 2 on Google. And this was the type of landing page that other people link to. So it helps with our external backlinks. And that's kind of the next strategy is you need to have more websites linking to your website. And that's called an external backlink. There is also value in internal backlinks, meaning I'm linking from my NetSuite training page to my NetSuite Save Search page. That is an internal backlink, and it increases the authority of both of those pages, and Google sees that you're properly mapping the user experience on your website, and they like that. The external backlinks are from other websites. So for instance, I had other pages that were going to be like people would make blog posts of different NetSuite training resources you may like. And eventually, those people making those blog posts are just typing up, NetSuite training for beginners, free training things, and just Googling it and researching themselves to compile a list. And they would find me as one of the resource options and then link to Anchor Group's website. And that creates the overall domain authority of the whole anchorgroup.tech domain, increases it so all pages rise with that tide. And just rinse and repeat that over and over again. There's not a ton of options to be linked to, but case studies work well, training does work well. And although the keyword of NetSuite training does not necessarily solicit services, it did provide an SEO benefit that bumped the rest of my service pages. So because I'm having other websites linked to mine and creating that authority, all of my pages, including my NetSuite services pages, slowly rise up. It's incremental, it's small, but it is available. And then finally, the last strategy related to that is external backlinks that you can pay people to go publish a blog post, write and publish a blog post, linking back to your website with the contextual keyword, meaning NetSuite consultant, those words linking to our NetSuite consultant page. That's what a contextual keyword is. And it's linking it all the way through. And so you can actually pay for that You do have to be careful to not get flagged, and there's different strategies still to navigate that. It's silly, but I'd probably spend 2,000 to 3,000 a month on just that strategy alone. So let's do some quick math here. External backlinks, probably 2,600 a month, I think, times 12 times, I've been doing it for 6 years. Just the external backlink strategy, 187,000 investment. So when people say that SEO is free traffic, just the external backlinking part of it was 187,000 over the course of 5 years. But now this strategy makes all pages rank high. So it was a long-term strategy. There's short-term impacts. I ranked high for that page and that keyword right away. So there is short-term impacts, but the long-term impact is your whole domain slowly rising with that tide. And that's really the whole strategy on our SEO side. And then we can go into like the ad strategy and the referral strategy and how this all ties together to help all ships rise with the tide here.
Yeah, and Caleb, that was a great explanation. And so once again, Anchor Group is a service-based business, right? Our product is our service, right? It is helping people with NetSuite, SuiteCommerce, BigCommerce, and other e-commerce platforms integrations. That's, quote unquote, the product that we are selling. But if you yourself are selling physical material products, you can still use a lot of the strategies that Caleb just went through to help your website on the SEO side of things. Now, instead of just an example of taking something Caleb referenced, a service, NetSuite Consulting, and bringing this into the e-commerce world, you might be selling bikes, right? I enjoy mountain biking. Can't say I'm the greatest in the world at it. And sometimes I get nervous about steep drops, but I enjoy it. And I have a bike that's Trek brand. Okay. And so essentially, if I was an e-commerce website selling Trek bikes, I could do keyword research on mountain biking, on Trek bikes to see what people are searching and what volume to use those tools that Caleb mentioned, like Ahrefs, to understand what keywords are going to be easier to rank for versus much more difficult to rank for. And I can create it and develop a strategy for my e-commerce website, with trying to rank in Google on SEO stuff based on that keyword research. So that's just kind of how you can take those concepts into an e-commerce situation. And Caleb went through a lot there, and that's good. So feel free to go back and listen to that portion again. If you have an e-commerce website, but you also offer services, maybe HVAC services or some sort of construction service, a lot of what Caleb just referenced would be directly applicable to you if a portion of your business is a service-based business. And maybe you have that e-commerce component there as well, selling parts, or replacement parts, full components, stuff like that.
Let's expand your idea though with that Trek bike example. I bet you if you do the keyword research, you'll find that the word Trek bike is high difficulty to rank for, high volume. So you wouldn't want to go after that if you're a reseller of mountain bikes, let's say. But you might, in your keyword research, if you're trying to figure out what to make pages for or what keywords to hit for your, maybe you have a commerce category on your e-commerce site selling mountain bikes. If you're trying to hit certain keywords to rank for, a lot of the structure of e-commerce sites, you're going to have a category page with all the different bike options. So you may have a commerce category that is like Trek bikes, and then underneath of that you've got mountain bikes or road bikes. So let's pick the mountain bike route, and let's pick like mountain bikes with fat tires, something like that, or snow tires or something like that. So we've got 3 layers deep, and within that page for commerce categories, you'll probably want to put a description, a long tail description prior to all of the different bikes being listed here.
Real quick, Caleb, explain long tail description.
It's just like a paragraph rather than a short sentence.
Great.
So you've got your H1 tag, which is your main header. So that would be Trek mountain bikes with fat tires, whatever like that word is. You're going to want to keyword research that specific phrase. You should be keyword researching. Do the research to say what combination of words that I'm trying to convey. Maybe it's Trek mountain bike, snow tires, or whatever that combination may be, or mountain bikes Trek snow tires. Maybe that combination of words is higher volume. And so you can do your keyword research to get the certain phrase just right for the title of the category. And then the description itself, you can write up a description where it contains several of those combinations of keywords to make sure you're hitting everything, all the attributes that someone may be looking for. Google is going to crawl that and see and read all these different text descriptions and see, like, this specific combination is probably what this person is searching for. I'm going to have a match up and tee up your website for this category. And I bet that combination of words has lower volume, low keyword difficulty, but it's going to be easy to, because it's going to be easy to rank for and it has the intent that you're trying to map up, you're probably going to rank really high for that specific landing page and capture that group of people searching for your product. So that's what you're trying to do when you're creating different commerce category structures. You're trying to pair up people's searches and what they're looking for, that audience, to what your offer is. And you can create multiple different commerce categories or different product pages that are trying to blend those searches. Your customer, your ideal customer, are those people making those searches. What are they specifically looking for that you can make the content on your product pages or your product listing page to help them find you and help Google map you up together. So that same strategy that I use can totally be applied to the product space.
Definitely. Now, Caleb, quick question for you. How often is Google going to be crawling those pages? Say, for example, I have a current page, and after listening to this, I decide, you know what, tonight I'm going to go home after work and I'm going to try to really improve that and maybe take a couple days to improve a page. How quickly is Google going to realize those changes? And hopefully I will start to see some effect of those changes with that.
Yeah, good question. There's two methods for this. Within Google Search Console, which is free, it's just it's your account type. You just have to prove you own your domain of your website, and then you have access to it. You can, what's called submit page to index, where you can type the URL or copy paste it into Google Search Console and submit for indexing. And that just tells Google, hey, I just updated this page. I'm manually asking you to go recrawl this page. And that's a way to speed up the recrawl of that page. So Google they won't crawl your whole website in that instance, but that specific URL. Or the alternative is you just let them recrawl your website, which occurs every 1 to 3 weeks. It's not exactly known the exact amount of time and days that go by, but if you don't do anything, Google will recrawl it within that rough range. And then from there, they need to decide they're going to be recrawling a bunch of websites across industry constantly in a rotation, getting to know the websites and deciding what keywords should rank higher for the different domains that they crawled. And that's why it can take 8 weeks or so before you see how your rankings have improved, because you have to wait for Google to crawl your website. You have to wait for the more people to continue searching for that, so Google can kind of re-rank you and decide what the click-through rate is now that they're teeing you up a little bit earlier. Are people more interested in your link and what that looks like? And they'll use that data to slowly decide where to rank you, and that's why it takes about 8 weeks to notice the effect. But there are two main ways to submit for indexing.
Yeah, and you're on the second way that you referenced. I like how you talked about the time that it takes for Google to recrawl these and just shift the pages around on the search results based on various searches from potential customers, right? Because that really shows that this stuff takes time. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not, you're not going to go rags to riches overnight with this. And that shouldn't be an expectation either. And that's not a bad thing, right? You can think about that as a superpower. Honestly, when you're looking to increase the traffic, if it takes a long time to increase the traffic on your website, then there's going to be substantial traffic going there. And that's really good, right? That shows that your website and your URL is being respected, right? Essentially out there compared to the other websites. Now, Caleb, I do want to ask one question, because every once in a while we get somebody reaching out to us about, and their scenario is like, hey, I had a lot of organic traffic through Google search, Bing search, whatever, going to my website, and all of a sudden, overnight, it seems like it has vanished.
Can drop. That's
And so
happened
let's
to me
talk about that,
before.
because that's a scary situation. You right now, if you're listening to this and you are running an e-commerce business and that is the way you're putting food on the table for you and your family, it is scary to think about a Google Search Console and crawlers, and essentially being something, a main deciding factor in whether or not you're having food on your table at the end of the day. Now, that's kind of an extreme example, but nonetheless, you get the idea. So, Caleb, let's talk to folks about that. What could happen to decrease organic traffic to a website? And then let's talk about how you can fix that.
Yeah, it's something that keeps me awake. But I have developed a handful of strategies and mitigation strategies that really put my mind at ease. One, I don't rely solely on anything. I don't rely on referrals only. I don't rely solely on SEO. I don't rely solely on ads. And it's diversified. So I have diversified. That's probably the best thing out of all of it is diversify. And so if your business today is just word of mouth business, time to diversify into e-commerce, because that can change, right? So you have to diversify. Now, within SEO, that category of SEO entirely, there's ways to create strategies to make sure that you do continue to rank high and that the rankings don't drop. Website migrations are always of risk of some type. I think that out of all the different website migrations, BigCommerce, from old platform to BigCommerce, probably maintains and in fact increases your SEO the best because of the page speed is so good. But there are things you have to do in that data migration strategy that people forget. Turning on the new website doesn't change anything. The most important thing you can do is to set up your redirects. If you do not set up your redirects, you're going to lose a lot of traffic. And if there's old content or anything like that you may have in maybe in a PDF with old links, they'll go to a page 404, page not found type of address, and they don't know where to go. So a redirect says, what is your old URL? And where do you want the new URL to be, so that when they do access that old URL, they're redirected to the correct new one. And that's another good use case during a migration of a website, to look at Google Search Console. You can export everything that Google has crawled, all the domains, and they'll even flag errors for you, like a 404 error in what the old URL was. So when you do a migration, even if you miss something, you can download that CSV file from Google Search Console of the old URLs and just CSV import the new mapping, just button it up. Make sure you're monitoring that during a migration. So that's one piece, is if you're doing a website to website migration, that's one of the greatest risks. But that is manageable through just a good checklist and not forgetting the common things for a good checklist. Then from there is frequency of updating content. There are certain web pages that are high value to us here at Anger Group, and we have a cadence of every 6 months making sure that we're doing a checkbox, and our marketing team goes back and edits the website page for that specific URL, makes changes, doesn't have to be a lot, just has to be different, and makes updates every 6 months to those key websites. If we did not do that, we will lose rankings. You won't lose all of them, but you're going to drop from your number 1 slot is definitely going to drop to something like a 5 to 8 slot if you do not do frequent updates. And that's another one of those costs with SEO, is you do have costs related to managing those pages. We have pages that are just technical articles and how to solve things, and we'll rank high for those pretty much no matter what. But they also don't bring a lot of value. They're just bringing value to the community. And I can't, beyond just making the original content, we're not updating those less valuable things to us. Pages exist, people can find them, but I'm not really doing updates for those less intent-based keywords. But for stuff that has key intent of wanting to buy and it's a high-value keyword, let's say you have a product that ranks high, that has a high margin, well, you want to maintain that. Make sure you're updating that product data consistently too. So that's one thing, is doing good keyword research to know where you rank so that you can track if those keywords are dropping. And then you can make a cadence to say, these are all the keywords and all the products that I need to be doing updates for on a regular basis, maybe every 6 months, and making sure I hit a checklist to do it. So that creates some process. There's ways to do it within ERP to flag those really easily with a workflow, create a task for yourself based on the last update date of certain fields. So you can automate that process within an ERP, makes it much easier. Then there's going to be like a couple other small strategies to make sure that you aren't losing your rankings. One of them is going to be making sure that you have a technical partner like Anchor Group on a bench. Even if you're not doing active projects, or let's say you haven't found the project yet that you need someone to help with, like a retheme of their website or ERP stuff, whatever that may be, having them identified on the bench so that you've got contracts in place and all of that done. So if you do maybe something breaks on your website and you can't figure it out, some technical component, then you've at least got a resource to go to, and you don't have to go through the sales cycle and get contracts in place, and that delays the timeline. And then you have to go and fix it, and they have to get oriented and onboarded to your environment and then actually do the work. That just created timeline that you can't afford to lose. So getting some people on your bench that are technical resources is another mitigation strategy.
And I want to hop in here, Caleb, because I second that idea, right? Because
of course you do. You're in sales.
Especially in this day and age where AI is becoming more prevalent. I mean, all of these major search engines have their own AI chat feature, essentially, that's going to help customers in the future start making decisions. And I know it seems like people are either on the side of AI and they enjoy it and they have already experienced or see the value it brings, and maybe there are some people who aren't on that side of the equation yet. I am definitely somebody who has enjoyed the AI advancements here in the past couple of years, especially the past couple of months. I find myself going to ChatGPT to search things, and thankfully it links to resources and that sort of thing, but it's kind of like a personal assistant. And the reason I bring this up is because as these search engines incorporate more AI into the search query responses, that is going to inevitably change the game of SEO a little bit.
It will.
Right? And I think what you're saying about having an expert on the bench, that's important always, but especially now, as we are seeing AI and the integration of AI into everyday business systems grow in leaps and bounds. It's going to be important to have somebody who understands how AI is impacting search results, especially if that's 80% of how you're doing business right now, or 100% of how you're doing business. You're going to want somebody in your corner for that.
Do you did you see that lead come in that sourced from ChatGPT?
I did not.
Okay, I'll tell you about.
We'll have to chat about that after the call. That's amazing.
We can talk about it now. I'm just not gonna. I'll not go in. But this is another topic actually of opportunity for organic, and there's kind of some pros and cons happening here in the evolution, and I'm still formulating my thoughts on this and from AI and SEO, because Google AI is taking a lot of those basic how-to questions and then they reference sources. ChatGPT does a very similar thing where they're referencing sources, so we can get a referral link back to our website when they're referencing it, because they're looking at what's on the web. So even if you're not ranking high, at least they're looking for content. These AI basically bots are crawling content of the website that rank high for that keyword to formulate their opinion, and they'll reference the sources so people can access it and dive in deeper. Now, there are just some more general questions. This means that the general questions AI can figure out, like, what is this product? Like, what does this do? Like, AI can figure that out. This is going to be a little bit harder for those keywords to be of value like they used to be, but having more technical documentation, I'll take how to integrate BigCommerce with NetSuite when I'm a retail business, and maybe some other caveat type of like a technical attribute there. Those types of content, and we make a lot of technical content. We have actually all our consultants, developers have quotas to hit technical content because we want to provide it to the ecosystem and provide some extra value. Those articles are going to be referenced and sourced more, that people are going to click into because they're going to have the detailed steps that an AI bot at the moment can't get to. They can just get the summary data. So there is value in SEO and building technical components and building a strategy around how AI is reading that content and getting leads there.
Yeah,
but I got a lead, so I know there's something there.
Right, there's something there. And the industry as a whole, right? The industry of the e-commerce industry, we're all going to figure it out together. I know the world of AI and the companies that are developing it. Sometimes people might think they're out before their skis a little bit, and that sort of thing. So as a whole, we're going to have to just figure it out together.
We're all going to make it.
What's that?
We're all gonna make it.
That's right. We are all going to make it. So, Caleb, coming to the end of our conversation here, just to wrap things up, we've covered a lot in this past about 40 minutes together, right? We've talked a lot about the different kinds of traffic. We've kind of debunked the myth of traffic truly being free, right? We now know that there's always a cost associated, even with the idea of quote unquote organic traffic, right? A lot of times that's branded as free traffic. We also know there's a referral-based traffic, right? You spend a lot of time chatting about that. But at the beginning, you tease something, and I want to make sure we get around to answering this question. At the beginning, Caleb, you said you were going to kind of show how much Anchor Group has spent over the years, 6 or 7 years, all in on traffic to our website. Now, not to put you on the spot too much, I know you talked about the number for backlinks, right? Paid backlinks to our website, but there's a lot more that goes into it. So let's talk. Let's reveal the answer to everybody listening now.
I'll let me calculate it. I'll show you the math. So let's say that you've got myself and our marketing director, who's almost entirely on SEO. Most of her time is there. So you've got roughly, let's say, between split my time and our marketing team's time in there, like 75% of her time, probably 10% of my time. Let's say $80K worth of salary basically every year times 1.35. That's the cost of business for after taxes. Been doing that for 5 years. Let's say 4 years. Plus the $187,000 spent on backlinks are organic. This is just SEO, not even ads. $619,000. So,
Over
organic
5
SEO
years.
is not free, but it has generated much more revenue than that. So it is worthwhile.
Definitely. The return on investment is worthwhile for sure.
But it's not free.
Not free, but you can get a good return. Well, thank you, Caleb. This was a good conversation. I know we didn't have a chance to talk into converting customers once you actually get them on your website, but that'll be in an upcoming episode.
Next time.
That's right, next time. Well, thank you all for listening into this episode. If you have any questions based on something we said, feel free to reach out to us. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can drop a comment in the comment section, or you can simply just go to anchorgroup.tech, fill out a form, and we'll be happy to get in contact with you and share some advice based on our expertise. And until next time, keep on chasing greatness, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you, Caleb.